Okay, now in order to use state, we need to import it up here from React. So let's go up here. You can also do React, use state, and there we go. We just imported use state. Now in order to use state, we need to go down here, assign it to a variable. So let's use const. Then we're going to destructure here two values, actually one value and one function that is going to set that value. Let's first of all take care of the naming part. So name, and we're going to use a function which is going to set the name. So set name, and we're going to assign this to use state. Okay, and we can also assign state or leave this empty, which basically means nothing. We can also assign an empty string. Now we're going to use this state in our values, and instead of this empty string, we're going to add in here the state of name. Now if you start typing in something in here, nothing happens, because when you're trying to type something into an input tag, you're trying to change something. This means that you need to have a change event listener. So let's just use here on change, and when we are changing something in this input tag, then something should happen, and this something should be handled by a function, and usually we call these functions handlers. So let's call this handle name change. Okay, now we need to create this function because the function is not in here. Just going to use the function in here. It's always screaming at me, hey, where's my function? Well, your function will be up here. And I'm also going to use here const, the name of the function, and then I'm going to assign it to a error function. Now I'm also going to pass in here the event, because this needs to listen to whatever happens in there. So what event are we listening to? We're listening to a onChange event. So let me just hit save for now, and let's open up the console. Right click, inspect, open up the console. Well, this is not what I wanted. So console, I'm going to move you down here, and voila, empty console. So let's say that when I'm changing something in there, I'm going to console log it, and I'm going to console log the e.target.value. So let's see what happens if you start typing something in here. You can see it's going to start outputting the value here. So we don't want to output it in a console, but we want to output it up here. Instead of the name, we want to output whatever we type in here. First, this means that we need to replace the name here with this value, with the name value from here. Now you could either pass it in here. So if we just pass it in as, let me make a copy of this, copy it, comment it out, take this name variable from the state. So the state is currently empty. Because the state is empty, it's going to pass in here an empty state. This means it's going to recognize there's nothing in here, and it's going to display title, just as we did in our component. If nothing is passed in here, then display title. If I would pass something in here, let's say Norbert, or Bert, what am I doing? Norbert, and sorry about the S, and hit save, we will see Norbert, because now the state is Norbert and it's passed down here, and this recognizes that is something in there. But what we actually want is to pass in whatever we type in here. And also you can see down here in the signature, it's already Norbert. That's not what we want. We want to change the state. In order to change the state, we need our set name function, which is going to change this state. So let me comment out its console log. We're going to use the set name function, and we're going to pass in here the e.target.value. What is that? Value. There we go. That we are passing in here. So instead of, let me save, and let me also delete Norbert. We're going to have a title, and we're going to pass in here Norbert, and you can already see it is passed in. Now let's pass in here sign, and you can see it's now signed down here. And if we type in Norbert, it's going to change, and on a refresh, it's also going to change back. And let's all. But I actually want to pass in here your signature, lowercase s. So you just saw how easily we can change this to Norbert by using useState. And we're going to do the same thing for the date. So I'm going to create another state. I'm going to call this date. I'm going to call this set date. And I'm going to leave this empty. And now instead of date, let me go down here. Instead of date, we are going to pass down here date. Date, and it's going to take the date. Well, it's empty. But this is actually, in our case, really not what we want. We want to not have here title, but we could either type in here something. So let's say select date, save it. You will have your select date here. Or you could do something else. You can go down here and say, if there is no date, then please display the OB which is just short for date of birth, and oops, should be a question mark. But if there is a date, then display that date. So instead of having the state passed in here, just give you another example, then you're going to have DOB, so as a default value. Now let's actually pass in a date, and let's actually make this input tag do something. So the value will be, instead of an empty string, the date that's going to be passed in. And we're going to, again, listen to the change, so on change, but this time we need a different handler, and we're going to call this handle change, and not name, but handle date change. Now let's create a function. We're going to go underneath this function, copy, you just copy and paste this function, copy, paste it down here, handle date, and again we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select target, e.value.targets. Basically this means we're going to change the date down here. I also don't need the console anymore. Select the date, we're going to pass in up here, and assign with Norbert BM, and that's it. That's our very first project. Okay, so hope you enjoyed the project, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.